What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Landon McClellan. Welcome to my channel. If you're a new viewer, I appreciate you being here. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. This is a new type of content for me. I turned 33 this year, and I think more than ever, I feel the need for, a deeper purpose. I really feel the need to lean into some really uncomfortable topics because I care a lot about young men and, men in general, and our mental health, and ladies as well. If you find something in this that makes sense to you and resonates with you, then I appreciate that, and I hope this brings some blessing to you. But I'm a man, so it seems imperative that I speak to men from the perspective of a man. It's been a long, sordid, at times outrageous journey for me, and I'm going to be putting out some content in the coming years that is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's going to be really uncomfortable for me. As these pieces of content roll out, I'm going to be exposing myself. I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on some of my most vulnerable, painful moments and lessons that I've learned from that, so that hopefully I can look some young men in the eye as their peer, as someone that you can trust to tell the truth, because I've been through it and I'm currently going through it. This is not a channel to judge. This is not a channel to spread hate. This is not a channel to discourage people or, drag people down a rabbit hole. But like I said, more than ever, I feel the need to lean into a purpose, and that purpose has to be helping my fellow man. It's been a tough summer. It's been a tough few years. When I turned 25, I made the conscious decision to open up my heart to the universe, to try to learn some lessons to be a better man. And I'm going to go into all this in detail later as time goes along. But hopefully I can look some of you in the eye as your peer, as someone you can trust, because I'm going through it, and maybe grant you just a little bit of the wisdom that I've gained in my years here on this earth. And I especially want to center in on the concept and the application of being a good man. What is a good man? Once again, I'm not a religious man whatsoever, but there's an author by the name of Ellen G. White, and she has a quote that says the greatest need in the world right now is the need of men, the want of men who cannot be bought or sold, as the quote goes. And it strikes me that even as an agnostic, I see the need desperately for good men. There's not as many out here as you would like to think, and I know there's a ton of them. And shout out to you, every single one of you. First of all, let's be real. Let's start this off on a real serious note and say, if you're a good man, thank you. If you're protecting your heart against evil, if you're protecting the people around you, if you're taking care of your people, if you're making sure that the locks are locks, and if you're taking care of your people and making sure that the dogs are in at night, making sure the cats are in at night, if you're taking care of your people, you're making sure everyone's fed, you know what I'm saying? Everyone can go to sleep, has a place to lay their head. If you're doing everything that you can to be a good man, I applaud you. We all applaud you. There's an attack on manhood happening right now, and I know you feel it. If you're a man, if you're attempting to be a good man in today's current environment, you know that I'm telling the truth. There is a huge demand out here for good people, specifically good men, and I'm not the one to really talk about this. Let's be real, because the vast majority of my life I've dedicated to hedonism in its many forms, and once again, I'm all for having pleasure. You'll never catch me being angry at an opportunity to give yourself a little dopamine from time to time, healthy dopamine, right? Like, I think that life would be nothing without a little bit of fun. Life would be nothing without some enjoyment, some celebration. You know what I mean? Some indulgence from time to time. But I'm going to go into this, obviously, in more detail, like I said, but hedonism was a huge part of my life. And I grew up in a very, very religious background, a cult kid, you might say. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, which is where that Ellen G. White quote comes from. And, the fact that I'm even able to reference that in the public face like that speaks volumes for how much I've grown to accept and understand that the truths can be found within otherwise, obnoxious or, I dare say, abrasive contexts, right? So even though I grew up as a religious kid, and in my heart of hearts for years, I fundamentally rejected everything that religion stood for. I hated God. I hated religion, especially organized religion. I hated morality. I hated judgy people. And I still do hate, certain versions of that. Not hate. Hate's a strong word, but, I disagree with a lot of that stuff. But the thing is, as you grow up, and, where I'm at right now is I'm really struggling to see the truth in things that would otherwise be rejected just based on what it was. Like, I want to reject everything to do with religion, but in all reality, there's a ton of like positive qualities and things within different religions that you can take and apply to your own life. And I think I want to start this series off by kind of giving a little bit of background and how far I let myself go, And once again, everything is relative. So if you come to my channel and you feel like I'm super privileged and that I shouldn't be saying any of this, I'm sorry you feel that way. I can only talk from my experience, right? And so obviously somewhere around the world, there's always going to be somebody who's worse off than you and has a shittier story, a more terrible story than you. And so I'm sure that's the case, obviously, but I want to help folks. I really do. I want this channel to be a place where the content inspires you to be a better person, be a better man. And I grew up as a cult kid, like I said, and very, very sheltered. Every single piece of my life was set out in front of me. There's no, at every time of the day, you will be here, you will do this, then you will go here. Very, very strict, very controlling environment. In the name of guidance, right? Like my parents thought that was the way to raise kids, was to make every decision for them, and I've long since forgiven my parents for everything that transpired as a kid, because I think that's just a huge part of my own personal growth. I have to forgive people, even though they've hurt me or even though they've, done things that at the time or even now I considered egregious. You have to heal. You have to overcome that. And so that's where I'm at currently. So that's one huge reason why this channel will never be judgy. This channel will never attempt to, do anything that's going to constrict or inhibit your healing, right? I want you to heal as my viewer. I want you to be able to see me as your peer. I want you to be able to understand that I'm just going to tell you some stories about my life and how far I've fallen in certain instances, I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to expose anyone but myself in this series. But if you're watching this and you get a blessing from this, please leave me a comment and let me know, because I need the encouragement. I'm currently going through, like I said, a huge ton of life changes and a ton of realities that I'm facing, things that I was running from, internal conflicts that haven't been resolved. I'm in therapy, and I'd like to think that I'm doing the work. But I also want to make sure that you guys understand that there is light at the end of that tunnel, and regardless of how far you've let yourself fall, I can always encourage, the people around me to get up and keep trying again. So as the story goes, I grew up as a cult kid, like I said, super religious, went to church every Saturday, didn't have friends. The only people that we were allowed to hang out with as kids were other members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and even then it had to be a very slim picking, a very slim section of those churchgoers who were deemed conservative enough by my parents to be allowed in our inner circle. And so I basically grew up with almost zero exposure to anything worldly. And so when I turned 16, I threw up a giant middle finger to my parents. I threw up a giant middle finger to religion in general. And I left at age 16. As soon as I was legally emancipatable, I left. And I ran as far and as fast as I could. And I lived, up and down the East Coast with different people. Shout out to all the people who, whose couches I hopped during that period. And because of the fact that as a kid, every single decision was made for me, every single instance of an opportunity or it was always no. The answer was always no. Can I go with? No. Can I go hang out with? No. So-and-so invited me to go out? No. So when I turned 16 and I left, I said yes to everything, because that seemed like the natural reaction. The pendulum swung very, very far, you know, and the result of that was I spent the next 10 years saying yes to every snort, to every shot, to every fuck. I said yes to everything. And then I wonder why 10 years later, when I look inside myself, there's nothing that I like. I genuinely looked inside myself and I saw nothing that appealed to me. My self-esteem was at an all-time low. It's still something I'm fighting. Still something I'm battling right now. You know, low self-esteem, hating myself, self-deprecating talk. You know, my favorite phrase was to refer to myself as a piece of shit. Oh, I'm a bastard. I'm a piece of shit. You know, that's just, as a matter of fact, I literally made music under the name Dirty White for almost 10 years because that was where I felt at home, being the anti everything. You know, the dirtiest, the grimiest, the nastiest, the sleaziest, right? Like the amount of angry voicemails from husbands screaming at me because I was messing around with their wives. Twice, I think 3 times, I've come home from vacation to find out that somebody found out that I was on vacation and went to my house and covered my entire entry door with dog shit, with feces, mushed it into my keyhole, you know, so I couldn't even get in my house. And to me, that was all just collateral damage, right? Like, I'm the dude. I can do whatever I want. And then I tried to recover from some of that. When I turned 25, I think the last of my neurons finally fused together, you know? And so this is my story. This is something that's going to expose me for all the deepest, weakest parts of me. But I'm a good man. After years and years of work, you know, after almost 10 years now, I spent a good 10 years between 16 and 25 or 16 and 26, something like that, being an absolute scumbag. Still a genuine heart, you know, in a lot of instances. Still a good kid, right? But subconsciously extremely manipulative, a womanizer, a drug addict. You know, was never homeless. I never let the drugs get me so bad that I was ever like living under a bridge. So once again, shout out to all my people who have fallen, who have truly fallen and hit rock bottom, because rock bottom is different for everybody, you know. So if you've ever been in a place where you were homeless, or you're in a place where you're homeless because of drugs, once again, my heart breaks for you and my heart goes out to you, because thankfully I never let it get that far. But I mean this when I say, like, I let myself go. For years and years, I let myself go. And I just want to encourage you to be a good man. That's what this video series is for. Be a good man. Not in a challenging, judgmental way, but in an encouraging, supportive way. Because I'm trying to be a good man. And part of my journey, one of my more recent developments, is not to refer to myself as a piece of shit, not to refer to myself as a bastard or a womanizer, all of these things that the bad voices inside want me to believe that I am. You know, the voices want me to believe that I'm still that guy. And that's not true. I am a good man. And every decision that I make on a daily basis is tempered by that knowledge, is tempered by that understanding that I am a good man. And that's how I operate. And the healing is never going to happen. The behavior is never going to change unless you face your shadow. You know, any Carl Jung fans in the building? Raise your hand. You know, the shadow, that evil, self-centered inner piece of you has to be acknowledged, you know? And so once that's been done, then I understand that I am a good man, and that those parts of me, I'm just as responsible for those parts of me as I am for the praiseworthy parts of me. So I'll be back. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about lust. We're going to talk about womanizing. We're going to talk about diet and fitness. You know, we're going to talk about spirituality. We're going to talk about loving our fellow man. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff on this channel. And I hope that through my attempts to use this as my own personal outlet and as a purpose, my attempts to have a purpose, I want to help you guys. I love you. If you're a young man or a young woman of any age, I love you. Please stay tuned. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, and my personal struggles, how far I've let myself go. I'm going to tell you guys a ton of stories from my life that are going to make me look like a real asshole. It's going to make me look like a real fool. But I'm going to do all this with love, because hopefully somebody out there who's not fallen as far as I have will get something from this and be able to understand that life can truly be more than just drugs and sex and all the shit, you know. And once again, I'm coming to you as a non-religious person. It's not like I just found Jesus and decided to jump on a high road. I just want to be healthy. I just want to be healthy and be functional. And that's what this series is for, to be healthy and functional. So once again, I'm Landon McClellan. Thank you guys for coming here. I'm going to be coming back with a whole lot more of this, and we're going to get into some gritty details. But for now, appreciate you showing up to the channel. I love you. You guys be safe.